Welcome to this Params series. I'm going to be discussing about the basics of Params hash in Rails. All these episodes are based on this blog post by Stephen Chu in his blog, stephenchu.com. So this will be helpful in writing some concise code and eliminate some duplication in your controller action methods, and then also results in clean code. First, I would like to make an announcement for a contest. I'll be giving out one iPhone 3G, and the way you enter this contest is by going to my site, and you can either click on this headers link, and you can provide the link to a documentation patch. So you can submit a valid documentation patch to Rails framework, and you'll be entered into the drawing. You'll be entered into the drawing as many times as you provide patches, and automatically that will increase the probability of winning the iPhone. So all you need to do is provide a documentation that gets accepted, and the final day for this contest will be August 22nd. So there is enough time for everyone to submit the documentation patches. And if you're interested in giving out prizes or in exchange for advertising on the site, you're welcome to do so, and you can contact me through this contact form. So let's get started on the Params spoof basics. The first one is on how to show everything into the params hash, and you can create the active record model when someone submits a form. So this is straightforward and very simple thing that you might be doing already, and I'll gradually build on this thing in later episodes and show some of the tricky scenarios. And also I had to make some corrections in the blog post just to get it working from end to end, so you'll see the entire thing working. So the params for number one is about wrapping all relevant attributes in a single params key. So I already have created a project, and in this project we are going to have some models, and the models are just one model, reader, and this model will have two attributes. Let's say they are name and birthplace. We'll also have a controller so we have name and birthplace, and then in the views we need I'll just create an index, so when we create we can get routed to index page, which will display all the readers. So I just loop through each reader and display reader.name was born at that birthplace. For creating the new, we will have a form for, and then the model, which is the reader, and then there will be two text elements, one for the name and one for birthplace. The submit button will be just create. So we have index where we just load all the readers. And also we will have a create action. Here we can create a reader object by using reader.create and keying in on the symbol reader. So let's create the tables. Readers new. So when you load this, if you get this error message, it means before you do a create, you need to initialize the reader object like this. Let's try again. Okay, reader's path. You have not this will happen if you miss the declaration in the routes. So we'll declare that in the routes. And let's load this name. Say create. Okay, now since we did not change the routes, once you do a create, you can do a redirect readers URL. So let's go back. So when you go to index, it should be readers to load everything, and there it is. Bugs was born in Florida. So now I want to show you something which the beginners will make a mistake. This is a sidetrack from what we are actually doing. So if you see code like something like before you redirect, you do readers equal reader dot. No, let me show you what the problem is. People, instead of doing redirect, they may do something like this: render action and index. Just says renders. You just say render template that is used for this index action, which means it'll render the index.html, but it won't really execute this chunk of code inside the index action. Let's see what happens when you do that. So bugs to something, and I do a create, boom, it says you have a nil object, nil dot each. You're trying to loop through something which is nil. That happened because readers was never initialized. So what you might do before you do that is you may end up doing this: readers equals reader dot find and then go to index. Or you may put this thing in a private method where you could call that method from here and here and do the render action index thing. This will work. So you can have bugs 3 and then you say create. There it is. It works, but it's not clean. And also this render action thing, instead of using this, you can use redirect. Redirect basically sends HTTP status code 302, says you're being redirected to another location. When you do this, you basically make the browser make another request, and the request comes through this and it executes this index action, executes this code, chunk of code, and then it renders the index.html. So this is the right way and also the concise and cleaner way to do it. Okay, now this is one way to create the reader. Another way to do the same thing would be you just create an instance of reader, and then you can use the active records attributes method and initialize the value to the hash for the params reader. Give this key in this hash and it gives you all the values for the attributes, and then you could just do a reader dot save. This will also work, and let's give that also a spin. Test. Create. There it is. Michigan. So another way to do the same thing, instead of using this method, sometimes for complicated scenarios you may want to do you may want a situation where you want more control over which attributes are getting populated. You may go this route, but since we are just using all the values and we want to populate them in all the attributes that's coming in from the form, we could just, when you instantiate the reader object, you could provide those values here like this, and then just directly call the save method on it. That will also work. As you can see, to create, and there it is. And there's another way to do the same thing. I think I've shown you all the 3 different ways of doing it. So depending on the scenario, you may select one over the other. Okay, now let's see the params actually which is getting passed when you submit the form. Let's see where the params are being sent. There it is. So the reader is the name of the hash, and in this hash consists of key value pairs, like key name and its value is bugs3, key birthplace and its value is Florida2. So the reader object that's going to have this name and birthplace as the attribute, we get this, and we are basically assigning this either to the reader's attributes, or we just pass it into the constructor to create an instance of it and then save it in the database. When you save, it gets inserted into the tables for readers. So that's how the params get passed in. Now let's work on the update thing. Updating will have one form for updating the fields of the readers. We have a text field name and a text field birthplace. So edit and update go together in the readers. So we will have edit action. In edit action, what is the object we need to edit? That object current values must be loaded into the form so that user can change its values and save it in the database. When they hit update, that will call the update action. Params of ID, I'll just find this record and then I'll route to this edit action. This will load the form with current values and the update is selected. I want the update action to be invoked, and this guy will first find the reader which is going to be updated, and then I can call the reader dot update attributes method on the reader object. If you look at the source code for update attributes in the Rails documentation, you can see basically the implementation of this thing is reader dot, it's some attribute, dot attribute equals new value, and then it calls the save on it. There are two different versions. One is you can provide something like this name, and then you could say params of name if it's coming from the form, for instance, whatever the key that might be there. So you can update single attribute. There's a single attribute version that you can use. In this case, it's a one-time update of whatever might change in that form. So I'm calling the pluralized version of it and passing in the entire hash. In one shot, I'm just doing an update on it. So after update, I just want to redirect to reader's URL. You can just go to here and let's see if we can edit one of these. Okay. Save update, and there it is. And that's it for this screencast, and if you enjoyed it, please recommend me on working with Rails. Thank you.